The room was silent, save for the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. Sarah sat on the edge of her bed, her hands trembling as she clutched a crumpled letter. The words blurred through her tears. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I can't do this anymore. I need to leave." It was from Daniel, her fiancé, the man she had trusted with her heart. The man who had promised to never leave her. And now he was gone. Her chest tightened and the familiar ache of abandonment crept in, threatening to consume her.
Sarah's fear of abandonment had roots that ran deep. As a child, she had been left in the care of her grandmother when her parents moved abroad, chasing dreams that didn't include her. As a result, she grew up feeling like a burden, unworthy of love. In school, she clung to friendships desperately, only to be betrayed when her secrets were spilled for a laugh. By the time she met Daniel, she had built walls around her heart, but he had promised to tear them down. And for a while, he did. But now, as she stood in the wreckage of yet another broken promise, Sarah realized that her fear had never truly left. It had only been hiding, waiting for the right moment to strike. And strike it did, with a vengeance. Determined to break free, Sarah turned to the one person that has always been constant in her life, God. She remembered the stories she had read in the Bible, of Joseph, abandoned by his brothers, but raised to greatness, of Ruth, who found redemption after loss, of Jesus, who promised to never leave nor forsake. These stories had always comforted her, but now, they felt like a lifeline. She began to pray, not the polite, rehearsed prayers she was used to, but raw, honest cries from the depths of her soul. "God, I can't do this alone," she whispered. "I'm tired of being afraid. I am tired of having the fear of abandonment. Help me trust you, even if everyone else leaves." As the days turned into weeks, Sarah immersed herself in scripture, seeking solace and strength. She joined a small group at her church, where she met others who had faced similar struggles. For the first time, she allowed herself to be vulnerable, sharing her story and hearing theirs. Slowly, she began to see that her worth wasn't tied to the people who stayed or left. It was rooted in something far greater.
But the journey wasn't easy. There were nights when the fear of abandonment returned with a vengeance, whispering lies in her ear, "You'll always be alone. No one will ever stay." On those nights, Sarah fought back with truth, reciting Bible verses like Psalm 27 verse 10, "Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me." She journaled her thoughts, pouring out her heart onto paper, and found comfort in the act of releasing her pain. She also sought counseling, where she learned to identify the patterns of her fear, the fear of abandonment, and how it had shaped her relationships with people. With the help of her counselor, she began to rebuild her sense of self-worth, one step at a time. First, she had to forgive her parent for abandoning her as a child, and also called them, even though she had not spoken with them for over 15 years, releasing love and peace unto them. Then she learned to give up being a people pleaser, who was desperately clingy and needy, by not holding on to people just because she was afraid they will leave her. More so, she also gave up the thought pattern that people were always going to leave her and embraced herself, that she was worthy of having healthy people in her life. So one evening, as Sarah was leaving church, she ran into Daniel,
Her ex-fiancé.
He looked different, tired, and regretful. He tried to apologize, to explain why he had left, but Sarah held up a hand to stop him. For the first time, she felt no anger, no desperation to make him stay. Instead, she felt a peace she couldn't explain. "I forgive you," she said softly. "But I'm not the same person I was when you left. I've learned that my worth doesn't come from you, or anyone else. It comes from God. And He's enough for me." Daniel stared at her, stunned, but Sarah simply smiled and walked away. As she drove home, she realized that the fear of abandonment that had once controlled her was gone. In its place was a deep, unshakable trust in the one who would never abandon her, God.